computer, whatever.
Got it. Perfect.
So welcome everyone to Inside the Den special episode, Coffee with a Coach. I have Hunter Haney here for episode 3 of Coffee with a Coach. Hunter, welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it,
You're hitting
Andrea.
the coffee. What mug are we using today?
We're using, this is an old-fashioned Starbucks, like
Very nice.
original release. There we go.
Very nice.
It's special edition with the elephant car wash on there.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, no,
that's
they
awesome.
made them. Yeah, they made them specially for a short time, and we asked them to make a handful extra for us. So, yeah,
That's excellent.
no, it's the best cup of coffee to use.
I've got
Best mug.
sorry I'm late. I saw a dog.
That's a good mug.
For anyone who doesn't know, both Hunter and we both have dogs. We got it all. We've got Labradoodles. We got Burmese, what do you got?
Bernedoodle, German Shepherd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got doodles. I got one in a crate over here who's going to be in there on his own. So hopefully we'll have not too many dog barks during our segment, but really quick, just as a reminder to everyone listening or watching, our big golf fundraiser banquet and reunion, Saturday, January 22nd. It is going to be an absolutely amazing time. All the things that are happening. We've got an auction that's going to happen as well. Items are being donated. I think the reunion is going to be super, super cool. I think we've got some people, somebody's coming from actually quite a great distance outside of the state of Washington to come. So if you haven't already, you want to get tickets, you can reach out to phil.burnett at wsu.edu. Let them know that you want to get on the mailing list. There is an opportunity. You need to buy tickets, so that's really important. On that same page that you can purchase tickets, there's also a place to make a donation. And I always remind people, small dollar amounts make a difference. $10, $20, $25 actually makes a huge difference, because a $10 or $20 combined with 4 or 5 other people is a registration for a wrestling tournament for one of the athletes. Or we do have to feed our athletes during the tournament, so healthy foods and snacks during the event, Gatorades, things of that kind. All those smaller donations actually really do add up. And we would love to have those from you and include your name on kind of our, I think one of the things that we're going to try to do is all the names of donors and everyone, that's going to be our support crew throughout the season. We're going to make a big banner and we'll do shout outs to everyone in social media. So make sure, if you're interested in doing that, you can do that as well. We also have some other opportunities. You can, for the golf tournament, you can sponsor a cart. You can sponsor a hole. So there's a lot, if you have a business or something like that, or a big family that just wants to support WSU Wrestling, there's plenty of different, donating options available to you. You can also find us on Instagram at WSU_wrestling. Kobe Bui is now running the social media, and he and I are working together. Huh?
Woo woo. Go Kobe.
Kobe. Yeah, he did an episode, and his episode is up. It was really good. So I think I hit all the important things, and just a reminder, thank you so much to all the people who have so generously given to WSU Wrestling. This team is doing really, really big things. We have varsity status now at the Washington State University Recreation Department, only the 2nd athletic club to earn varsity status. So it's a really, really great accomplishment for the WSU wrestlers and coaches. And Hunter Haney here, Coffee with a Coach, one of the original WSU wrestler that, as far as I've been told, is really the one who got Phil and Susan involved and really helped to start making things happen. So let's start there. Hunter, just tell us a little bit about yourself and how, getting Phil and Susan involved and what kind of the dream was for the program.
Yeah. I went to WSU not actually looking to wrestle anymore, just looking to get a college degree and focus on other things. And didn't take long as a wrestler to realize that I missed the sport. And so reached out and saw that we were, had a club that was starting. One of my best friends now, Zach Volk, had started day one with them, and they were probably a couple months into season. So I joined up, and things just started clicking. All that love that was there was back again. And Phil, he had trained me on the outside of high school, just little sessions, getting ready for state and everything, my juniors and senior years. And without his help, I don't think I would have been as successful. I ended up winning state my senior year, and I contribute that entirely to him. And so we just kept that connection. I mean, that was one thing that I just wanted to pay back to him. So started wrestling there on weekends, stuff like that. I would actually drive back home to help train some of the high school kids that he was now training, because people heard that he had helped a lot. And so, he continued to help me as much as I helped him through my freshman year. And that season was cut short due to a concussion right before nationals. So we fast forwarded to the next year. And the head coach at the time, Kevin Poitra, who was an amazing coach. He was there, as well from the get-go for the team. He actually had to, towards the end of the season, get a heart surgery. So he could not make it to nationals that year. And so one day he pulled me to the side and said, "Okay, Hunter, you're my guy. You're the guy that's going to end up placing at nationals. I know it." He goes, "I can't make it as a coach. I need you to pick who you want to be, your coach there, and he will be there for you as well as the rest of the guys, but make it be someone that's there for you." And I said, "Okay." Within 5 minutes, I called Phil and said, "Phil, listen, I need you, buddy. I need a coach down in Allen, Texas for nationals." And, he didn't even ask his wife for permission. He just said yes, and then asked for forgiveness right after. You did that in the wrong order, but that's how we do things sometimes. So he said yes. He actually ended up even paying for the ticket himself instead of having the team pay for it, because he was just so excited. He instantly planned for it. Second, he met the rest of the team. The first thing he said, which really spoke to all of them, was that he wasn't there just for me. He was there to coach all of us. And that changed the entire dynamic for everyone there. And I think in turn that made him want to stay that much more. So at nationals, it was hard fought battle, made it to the quarters, ended up getting knocked out, actually passed out on the mat in the quarters. And so ended up having to drop down in the constellations, and we fought all the way back and placed third.
It's awesome.
And it once again couldn't have done it without Phil. He was there for all my big moments in wrestling. And at that point, the team ended up placing in the top 10 for nationals, which was just an amazing feeling as well. And all the guys were sold on Phil. And Kevin was, with the heart surgery, stuff like that, he was trying to phase out a little bit on the wrestling side of things, still help out a little bit, but didn't really want to be the head coach. And all the wrestlers there turned to Phil and said, "You're our guy now." Like, they didn't really even give him a choice. He just they just said, "You're our guy." And those of us that have met good old Coach Phil, Phil Burnett, he's a go-getter. So if he puts his mind to something, he's going to do it. And he said yes. And fast forward, I mean, how many years later? And he's still there, and he's taking it to new heights. But it all started from that moment when I was able to call him and rely on him, because of just who he was as a person.
I've said in other videos that just talking about Phil, I don't know. He just has a real talent for welcoming everyone, putting their minds at ease.
Hmm.
He has a real talent for, kind of really holding the mission, which is student first.
Yep.
He he cares about safety. Sometimes maybe we don't need to wrestle this match, or maybe we're done with the tournament. We'll live to wrestle another day.
Yeah.
And certainly between he and Susan and the student presidents and all the athletes, just the amount of work that they have all put in the last, I think it's 6 years is what everyone is saying.
Yeah, it's been about
Um,
6 years now.
yeah. Um, so you talked about nationals. Let's talk about this year's nationals.
Yeah.
That was the first time, well, the second time you and I got to be at a tournament together. We first met at regionals, I think.
Yeah,
And I
conference,
remember
yeah.
saying to someone, "That's Hunter Haney." I'm like, "Oh, this is Hunter Haney? Oh my gosh!" Like,
Yeah.
maybe I should get his autograph, while we're here. Uh, but I personally I had so much fun with you at nationals. I don't know if I talked about it in other ones, but we were the very first people in the coffee line at the convention center.
Every day.
Every day we were first in line, often before the employees had even really opened up. And I felt like we were really representing the Pacific Northwest, Seattle Starbucks coffee. I had the best time in Puerto Rico
Oh,
at
yeah.
nationals.
It was a
Let's
blast.
just kind of recap. It's not that long ago you were an athlete. Now you're helping to coach. Let's just kind of recap a little bit nationals and like your overall, kind of thoughts on the tournament, maybe some key matches.
Yeah. You know, it was my first time actually getting to really well, this last season was the first time getting to actually travel with the team a little bit. I told Phil that I wanted to give back finally. I was ready for that.
Yeah.
And because, had figured out stuff in my personal life and wanted to give back to this team that meant so much to me.
Yeah.
Because I felt that him and I were able to kind of start something big together. And so it was funny. A lot of the guys at nationals I had only met maybe once or twice before that.
Right.
Living on the other side of the state,
Yeah.
didn't really get to get over there to practice with them. Only met them on a tournament to California and then conference, and then bam, we're all at nationals together.
Right.
And so, for a handful of the matches, even dating back to conference, like I'd be in the corner yelling at the guys, and afterwards they come up and go, "So who are you?" And it was really
Yeah.
funny. And I'd say, "Oh, I'm Coach Haney, Coach Hunter, whatever." And they're, "Oh my gosh, really?
I
Okay."
know.
And they're like, "Okay, so what do you think?" and stuff like that. And I'm just like, "Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, wow, okay, so
Yeah. Oh, the
wow."
Hunter Haney name. That's why I said, like, maybe just get a little autograph
Yeah,
before he
no,
leaves. I don't know what
apparently
I'm
Phil had
gonna
talked
get.
really, highly of me, which he's too kind. Just another wrestler that wants to now give back to the sport. But at nationals, I've never seen a group of our guys, even since I was, the one wrestling in at nationals, that were so invested in
Mhm.
how each other did. And that wasn't even just on the boys' side, that was on the women's
Yeah.
side as well. The men and the women were invested in each other. Back when I was there, we only had the men's side, and those guys were, loud and proud, invested in what we were doing. But that was nothing in comparison to now. I mean, we even had families traveling down there, and we had that before. But I mean, you could even ask other teams that were there. We made ourselves known.
Oh,
Um,
100%.
yeah, if someone was
100%.
up on a mat, the entire team moved over to that mat. Or if we had multiple mats going, we'd split up in half and half, and we were so loud. I mean, people on other mats couldn't even hear their whistles sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, so we created this vibe, especially this year, and I'm sure it's been there in previous years, but it was my first time getting to feel it at that level. And so seeing that we were all one big family, people from all walks of life that would never even be friends or take a second look at each other when walking by on campus. The fact that we were all not friends, we were a family. That
Yeah.
was a really, really important and big thing that I noticed.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Let's talk about some crazy matches. Let's talk
I
about
mean,
Bobby's match just briefly.
which one of Bobby's
We
matches?
got
Holy crap!
the head
Headband.
wrap.
Okay,
Let's
yes,
talk about that.
the head wrap. So his final match, his blood round match.
Yeah.
That match was just insane. I've never seen him, besides one or two other times, which were also at nationals by his, fellow athletes. Someone wrestled with as much heart and grit as he did right there. It blood round match trying to get into place. And Bobby, he hasn't actually wrestled that long. So the fact that he was on a national level and in that spot was, something all on its own. But it got to the point in the match where the guy kept kind of headbutting him, and he ended up getting a huge slash across his eye. I mean, huge doesn't even describe it. It was the second slash actually that we experienced the whole weekend between our guys.
We had Susan Burnett took 2 wrestlers to the same clinic, the same doctor.
They thought we were beating our people
After the first one, and the second kid comes in, I think the doctor said something like, you guys got to find something else to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the first time the cops actually showed up because they thought that because we were not from Puerto Rico, they thought that maybe someone had jumped them or something like that. And they were there to take a statement for Drew when he was there.
That.
Yeah. And he was like, oh, no.
Man.
No, it was wrestling. So, funny thing about that.
Yeah.
So ended up cutting his eye, and we ended up, he didn't want to quit. And understandably so. I didn't want him to either, but also, safety first. And so it was his ultimate decision. So we ended up taping it up, wrapping about 60 times. And I mean, he could not see out of that eye. It was like Rocky Balboa scene.
It was
couldn't see nothing. And he went out there and continued to wrestle. And I mean, that was such an intense match. He gave everything.
It was long. It was long.
I have never thrown a challenge brick so many times in one match. I think I threw it 4 times all in all and won 3 of them.
Yeah.
And without really any basis on some of them. I just said, screw it. He's our last wrestler in there. We have these challenge cards to burn. I'm going to freaking burn it. So, part of it was, to give him a break so he could actually get the blood out of his eye. And the other part was because, I felt that it was a slightly poorly refed match as well. But that's,
I can't disagree.
Yeah. But, there were points to where, he even, there was the danger rule, of course, which not a lot of people, some people still don't know what that is. But when there's, a kind of, to that point of exposure when no one's in control, where they'll say danger, and they'll start counting, and then they'll award points to one side or the other, depending on who was actually in danger and if that, it had been counted. Well, it got awarded against Bobby, and I threw the challenge on it. And my argument was, well, he bridged to the point where his shoulder blades were about 10 to 12 inches above the mat. I said, that's pretty impressive bridge. I said, his shoulder blades aren't anywhere near the mat. I said, there's no way that you can count that as danger. No one's in control. There's no takedown, and he's bridging to the point where, I mean, that's a considerable distance when you think about it. Why would you say he's in danger there? And I said, if you're
the distance argument.
Yeah, and no, he had never heard that. I mean, apparently no one uses that really. And I just said, well, what if you pick someone up and they are 5 feet above the ground but flat with their shoulder blades towards the ground? Is that danger? I said maybe a danger to, if they get dropped, but that's about it. Mm-hmm. And they ended up looking at it, and we got the call reversed. And that really gave us all a second wind. Let me tell you, that's when we were all like, "Screw it, we're throwing this on every single chance
Yeah.
we get." And all of our wrestlers and people watching were saying the same thing. But so that gave us a chance to kind of get the blood out of his eye, and I think we stopped it like 3 more times to
Yeah.
rewrap his eye. I mean, we had to rewrap that eye so many
It
times.
really was kind of a mess. Yeah.
Yeah, and next thing you know, we're going into overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I mean, to get to overtime, Bobby had to, do some pretty good finagling to
He
get
was
it tied
wrestling
up.
really well. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was wrestling an opponent that was stalling the whole time and pushing him towards the out of bounds, and
Yeah.
it. That's how that guy had won multiple matches. He actually had gotten the other guy called for stalling because he circled him to the edge of the mat, and they kept getting called for fleeing to the point where they got disqualified for stalling. And so he was trying to do that to Bobby, and Bobby was able to get around it because he was so quick, and he would
Yeah.
quickly, kind of jump up and circle. Hey, doggos.
There it is.
There's the first one.
Doghouse.
Here, I'm going to let him outside. 1 second.
Okay.
They see a squirrel. There you go. Oh, yeah. They went for the squirrel.
Squirrels, man. The
squirrels.
all elusive squirrel.
I know.
The all elusive squirrel. Yeah, we have some squirrel chases too. The vet told us one of the number one causes of a dog breaking their leg is chasing squirrels. I believe it after watching my two go after them.
After watching what they'll do, yeah, 100%. But yeah, Bobby, he had to fight everything in this match. I've never seen so many things go against him and still end up going into overtime.
Yeah.
It ended up going down to sudden death where top bottom.
Right.
And the other guy got the escape, and Bobby got up multiple times in his 30 seconds when he chose bottom, and the guy would just stall out.
Yep.
And not even be able to return him, but would just stall out, and wasn't getting called for it, and ended up not going Bobby's direction because of that, which really really sucks.
I still
wish
have
it would have turned
I'm
out
still
different.
holding a little pain on that one.
It still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and if I saw that ref again, I'd ask him about it and really say, so why? Like, what was I not seeing there that you were seeing? So, and things, at the end of the day, a wrestling match, there's a winner, there's a loser. That doesn't change. That's part of what I love about the sport. That's just one that definitely should have gone our way that didn't. But hopefully this next year, Bobby comes back and is stronger than ever, because he showed everyone, for someone that wasn't ranked nothing, that he's a force to reckon with.
He's I think one of Bobby's well, first of all, he's got some he's been blessed with some great athleticism.
Yes.
I'm glad he found wrestling. He could have taken that athleticism somewhere else. But
yeah,
he just really held his mettle out there. He no matter maybe what was going on the inside, body language, quick hustle back to the center. He never really seemed to get up or down with wherever the match was going, and just kept staying in the moment, kept staying with the next attack. And that was a match that could have rattled a lot of people. And I just kept watching him like, boy, he is really just.
He never got tired, never lost focus.
No,
every time he'd come to the side, he would actually ask us questions on, I'd be coaching him anyways, but he'd be asking questions on, well, if he does this, what do I do? Like typically you just talk to your, your wrestler, but he was actually asking questions back because he was trying to be as prepared as possible.
Yeah. He's a little bit of I don't know. I mean,
he's like a bulldog out there, honestly.
He is.
He doesn't lose focus, and he just attacks. He never
loses. He's got a great dad in the stands. You can hear his
dad. Amazing guy. He, I really got to know him there as well, and I had a great time with him.
Shout out to Bobby's dad. He set us up with on our we did a tour of what did we do? We went to the beach, and then we went to like historic Puerto Rico,
Old, yeah, Old San Juan.
Old San Juan, and he set us up. He got us chairs and all this stuff at the beach, and just totally hooked us up. And we had a really nice time at the beach, and just a great guy. His mom and dad and siblings were all there. And shout out to all the parents that came down to Puerto Rico. What it was, that's not where they usually have nationals.
Yeah, it was
Um,
far.
and not only was it far, but just the venue. I don't think we had nearly as many teams in Puerto Rico as you would have had in Texas.
Yeah,
And in part, and because of that, we really did stand out. I think that arena and that convention center environment, I mean, we really did stand out. There were so many of us. We were like this big red wave, just all in that. We just owned that space, quite frankly.
yeah. It
um
didn't matter that it was that far away. We showed.
no, and I just applaud all those parents coming that distance. I mean, they really were like the fans and the parents of the stands. Like they
Yeah,
they
yeah.
really
Well,
owned that.
and it wasn't just like the parent; it was the whole family that would come. Like,
Yeah.
it's an expensive trip to have not just one parent, or just the parents, like the siblings as well.
Yes.
That, I mean, that just shows how much they care about the sport, care about their wrestler, everything. So
Yeah. It was really, really awesome. Um,
yeah, no.
okay.
And one last thing though with Bobby is the guys that he lost to ended up placing first and third. Think about that. And he
Was right
took
in
them
there.
both as far as he could. It was just the luck of the draw on who he faced and when, and he still should have won that one match for sure.
I
So,
agree. I think those matches were, I would describe those matches as a difference of perspective between officials and the wrestlers.
exactly. So,
That's what I meant to
just
say.
one last thing to highlight on him on there. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that he, should have been on the podium in that top three, one of those top three spots.
100%.
That right there showed it. So, just wanted to highlight
100%.
that.
No disagreement for me. Let's talk about Julie Wilson. Finalist. Uh, first, like, for a lot of firsts with Julie.
Mm-hmm.
Our first like top two placer, our first finalist.
Yep. Yeah, she dethroned me actually. I was the highest with old coach Brett, and we had both placed third, and then bam, she dethroned us, which is an awesome feat. And I
Yeah,
couldn't be happier with who exactly did it. I mean, that's amazing.
yeah. Julie is I agree. She wrestled a heck of a tournament. She wrestled a pretty tough girl in the finals, and I hope that girl comes back next year because we want a rematch. We want to see that again. we want to
Yeah,
we're going to improve. And
yeah,
Julie got also academic honors. She got a cool watch as a I think a finalist or a runner up. She got a really cool watch, and she got some cool awards and things. And the
yep.
whole, it was really, obviously again, it's my first time coming to nationals. That's our first time bringing like a pretty, a men's and a women's roster.
That
And
were
with,
decently sized.
yeah, and with, I just kind of kept looking around, and I'm like, I think we really are one of the bigger women's teams. And based on how recruiting seems to be going this year, not only is our men's team going to be even bigger, but our women's team is also going to increase, I think significantly. So
Oh, for sure.
moving into this season, uh, we really will have like very, good sizable established rosters. It sounds like we've got, girls at almost every weight class this year, or women. I call them girls because I'm 52 probably, but they're women. And so this year is really exciting for just how we're bringing in so many new women, and I'm just super excited for the season. Like I know
Oh,
we
I
got
can't wait
kids
for it to
and we
start.
got things to do, and the kids need to have their summer. Many of them are training and they're working out, they're finding clubs. Just did an episode with David. Now I'm gonna kill his last name. even though he and I went over how to pronounce his last name, but it's not Durock, it's Durock, kind of.
Durock.
Durock with the I probably still messed it up.
Just call it just
That guy is unstoppable, man. He's doing film, he's going to practice. He's
he sent me all of his film from this previous season, and I still actually have to go back over it with him. I went through every single match, and I think I have about a page and a half of notes from every match that I laid out for him on stuff that we can tighten up, fix, go over. You know, even things that he did perfect, I highlighted and said, "See, this is how you do want to do that." And you know, he asked me to do that 3 months ago, and it took me about 2.5 months of actually going through every video again and again and again and making all these notes. And now, you know, I'm at the point where I finally need to go back over them with him. And so I just kind of been waiting until I actually see him in person, because it's not something that you can really say over the phone or anything like that. Or you really want to highlight it, watch the video with him and say, see, this is what I'm talking about right here. But you know, that's not something you get from most wrestlers. If it's the off season, they're like, peace, I'll talk to you in 6 months, whatever. I need a break, I'm burnt out, yada yada, which totally understandable. It's a tough season, it's a long season. But he's gone the opposite route and said, give me as much as I can, let's improve.
He is and I talked about this with him when I was at Boise State University. His last name is White, and now I can't remember his first name. He ended up being, I think he ended up being an NCAA champion for Boise State. When that kid, I remember when he came into the wrestling room, he had the same level of nonstop obsession with wrestling. Nonstop obsession with technique, nonstop obsession with training, nonstop obsession with film, nonstop obsession with journaling and mental preparation and learning the joy of competing. I wish I could say his first name, but his last name was White. And you know, and then again, just experiences that I've had with Team USA, either as an athlete or you know, just being around the athletes now. That level of obsession is almost what it takes for someone to really achieve in a sport as difficult as this one. And David has it. And
he does.
David is a really, really good reason why getting community support for WSU wrestling is really important, because this kid could probably very easily go to an NAIA program or go to maybe a D3 program. But he's at Washington State. This is his academic school of choice, and he's wrestling for our club. And someone like him needs all the support that, you know, that we can give him. They all need it, but David really is, he's that dialed in. He's that serious about what he does. He's that committed to what he does. He has a love and a passion for the sport that is going to take him into coaching. A lot of our athletes are talking about becoming coaches. It's one of the great things I think that comes out of collegiate programs, is that collegiate programs tend to churn out coaches maybe more than any other kind of vehicle towards coaching. And all of our athletes are talking about coaching. They're all
every single one.
And I also think that because of their experience with women, they're now more likely to be open to coaching girls and boys, men and women, wherever they end up. And all these wrestlers are going to end up having girls.
Yeah. Well, look, that's me right here.
And now, guess what? These guys are going to get their daughters, you know, probably into wrestling. So
yeah, no, I'm the same way. I you know, growing up, I didn't see women's wrestling the same you know, under the same lens that I do now. As I'm sure you experienced. And it wasn't like I didn't think they should be wrestling. For me, it was, I just didn't want to wrestle them. I thought they deserved their own kind of, you know, their own you know, state, their own everything.
Their own teams, their
own teams, all that. And like, I thought they could practice with us 100%, but I actually felt that it was kind of unfair for them, that they kind of got put through the ringer with a lot of different guys, different weight classes, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like it wasn't fair to them. And so now, especially in the state of Washington, I mean, it's growing more than ever. And
Yeah.
so to be putting all these coaches out there that are invested in that as well is going to help it that much more and continue to grow Washington, high school wrestling for men and women, which is amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Washington has been a leader, for those who don't know. Washington is what we refer to as one of the original six. Washington approved girls wrestling as a state championship sport in the spring of 2006. They had their first girls state championship in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
The other states that Hawaii was actually the first. So we had Hawaii, California, Alaska, Washington, Tennessee, and Texas were what we call the original six states. And those states were the only ones that had approved girls wrestling up until around 2000, 16, 17, 18. Then the high school community really started understanding the need for girls to have their own championships, their own teams, and also they needed to advocate for boys too. We had state after state where you might have 500 to 1,000 girls competing in the state, and the boys were having to compete against them during regular season and postseason high stakes competition. And
And
so,
it actually made it really difficult for one, the representation of women, and then for
yeah,
two, just the size of these brackets and everything. I mean,
yeah.
you're throwing everyone into that same mix. It kind of made it a mess. And so to actually think through it and kind of dissect it and then put it into groups made it that much better.
Oh, totally. So in the year 2024, when we get to state championship season, just to show how much we've grown, next year we will have 40 state, I'm going to say 40 state athletic associations, just like Washington, that will be having a girls championship. So the nation has moved on quite rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just circle back to WSU for a second.
Yeah.
Let's just circle back to Hunter. Explain to people why you think, if I'm a high school kid and I don't really want, I want to stay in state. I think I still want to wrestle. Evergreen State College now has a men's and women's program. We also have Grace Harbor, Big Bend. Why should a young person in high school now or a graduating senior, why should they come to Washington State for their education? And then why should they come and wrestle for WSU?
Um, you know, Washington State University has always kind of had a stigma of being more of a party school than anything else and not really good for education, but I disagree. I got accepted both UW and WSU, and I chose to go to WSU. And I mean, whether you want to go into business like I did, you know, there's calm, there's they even have really good like veterinary programs and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah. We're one of
Like that is
the
what they're
top
known for.
veterinary schools probably in the country because there aren't
Yeah,
that
and
many. So,
so they have taken the time being where they're at to invest in all these different pieces. So you're not stuck in the middle of a city, you're stuck kind of out in the middle of a bunch of fields nowhere. And you have all this extra time and this big area to focus on whatever your main desire is for school. I mean, I was in the Carson College of Business. I actually got to meet Scott Carson, who it's named after, a couple
wow.
years back. Met him working my job at the Elephant Car Wash, and he came through and cleaned his car. And I told him go Coug because he had a Coug plate on, and he told me who he was. And I ended up creating a friendship with him. And
Wow.
he was the old CEO of Boeing, and he talked to me about being on the board, all the plans they had. And I saw everything through a new lens. There wasn't as much of the bureaucracy that you see everywhere else. It's everything felt a lot more streamlined and for the students at
Yeah.
WSU in particular. So, for schooling, I think I think there's no place better to be. Um, as far as wrestling, there's not a lot of opportunity in the state of Washington anymore.
Mhm.
So having more and more programs is just really important. And for a lot of people, they might feel the desire to go maybe to a JUCO school or D3 somewhere. They just might have these desires. Well, don't think about this as a step down whatsoever. A lot of the schools that actually go to this either use it as a stepping stone to get to like a D1 program,
Right.
which we had schools doing that this year,
Mhm.
or they're community colleges where people wrestle there for the first 2 years. They become national champions, and then they take the next step and wrestle D3, D2, D1. I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen it happen with a ton of them. So it's a really good place for one, if you're not really getting any offers and you want a scholarship, it's a really good place to focus and hone in on your skill. And you'll learn a lot more about wrestling than you ever thought you could in the past. There's you learn about all the different values of family that go along
Yeah.
with it and camaraderie because as much as it's an individual sport, it's a team sport as well. And so, you know, I mean, look at me. I was someone that didn't want to touch wrestling anymore after high school. I said, I did what I set out to do. I'm good. I said no to all my scholarships. I said, I'm done with it. And instantly regretted it, and missed it. So even anyone that's on the fence, it's a great school to go to, and then just to test it because you'll realize, holy moly, I missed this. And
Yeah.
it's a great way to expose yourself to other schools. Even a lot of the tournaments we go to, we'll face like the Mike Clock Open. I mean, we go
Yes.
against Oregon State. We go against a lot of these same teams and wrestlers
Right.
that you do at a D1 level. Um, across the board. And people
Right.
don't know that. But that's exactly what we do. Yes, we go somewhere else for nationals, but throughout the whole season, we're wrestling those same tournaments as them.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't tell you the number of D1 wrestlers that I went against, for my time at WSU.
Yeah,
So,
I was just thinking particularly, on the men's side, like you said, Mike Clock Open, do the Mountaineer Open early in the season. They send Oregon State wrestlers in, and you've got, all the other Oregon schools that'll show up to that Spokane Open. So as far as like being able to get your hands on some other really good wrestlers, um that's happening all throughout the season,
oh
and
yeah,
definitely for the women, same thing. We're wrestling the women's Oregon teams, and so there's plenty of opportunity to wrestle, like a wide range of, like abilities and talents in wrestling. And while some people will want to kind of minimize, oh, like that's just recreate, that's like intramural wrestling or club wrestling.
exactly.
I'm like, not at WSU, it's not. Phil and Susan and the student, the club has a student council, they have a student government, we have a president, vice president, they all work in tandem and closely with the
Yeah, Sport Club
State,
Federation.
yep, rec department. This is all taken very seriously, and then obviously, getting the varsity designation, we're really, this is a very legitimate organization and wrestling team. Also, the wrestling room is a it's a real wrestling room. It's the same wrestling room that was there when I was a student there. It's got brand new mats. The mats just arrived. We got word the brand new mats have actually arrived on campus. President James Cox traveled to Pullman to go check it out. I haven't heard word on anything, but the mats are here, brand new mats. I mean, you can't even, a lot of programs, they don't have brand new mats, certainly not
Nope.
at club level, but brand new mats. Super excited to have, the wrestlers finally be able to be on a quality mat, because the mats that were in there were long past their expiration date.
They were long past their expiration date when I was there.
And you know, we're just gonna have such a big team. We're gonna have,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like,
Yeah.
it's a big team. We need good mats, so that's happening. And you know, my point of view when it comes to, but as far as I'm concerned, these are student athletes. They are taking full class schedules. They practice. You know, Phil runs practices Monday through Thursday. They still do a team practice on Friday, and there's still options to get together and train on the weekends. These are student athletes. They take what they do very seriously, and they have, you know, they work within an association, the NCWA. They have a qualifying process to get to national. It's not like everyone just heads on down and it's an open. It's, you know, there is structure and there is criteria, and they follow collegiate wrestling rules, which
Yep.
we're going to have to be discussing. Hunter, of course, we've got to talk about the 3-point takedown.
I know. I can't wait to discuss that. I just, I was reading about it the
Do
other
we do
day.
this? Do we do this? Is it going to be this?
Yeah.
I was thinking they have to do this. I think all the officials have to go like this and do
Yeah.
two hands.
Yeah. Maybe something. Maybe it's like gotta go like this. Something weird. I don't know.
I can't even get my. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't
afraid
know.
something.
I don't
I'm
know.
gonna.
3. Go like that.
Yeah, we got this.
Go here. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It could be.
What are your thoughts on the 3-point takedown? Because it will affect strategy. You know, it will affect moment to moment, you know, what we're doing, where we're going. I mean, of course, we all want takedowns, right? We all want to be scoring them, but a 3-point takedown in certain situations is really going to be
A
like a
game
match
changer.
changer. Yeah, game
Yeah.
changer. So let me
Yeah.
hear your thoughts.
I think it's actually highlighting that much more of the
Low
freestyle
scoring.
Greco. Well, I
The
think
low scoring in college wrestling.
well, the freestyle and Greco side of things. The focus is on your feet, and folk style. A good portion of the match is also down on the mat, but you see in all these top matches, no one can hold each other down.
Top man has not been scoring. They're just
Yeah, top man does not score. It's a riding point, if that.
They're getting their 2 minutes of riding time, right? But we're not like, I don't see like massive near fall in all these matches.
Yeah, no, and to try to combat that, first they went with 4-point near fall. They attempting that, and so I think you're going to see two things off of it. One, I think that 4-point near fall is not going to seem as daunting for some people. All you need now is an escape and a takedown. So when you think about it like that, you can see a match turn and change very quickly just from that. You can be in the final 15 seconds and still tie it up if you're down 4.
Hunter, do you think that the hunt for the 3-point takedown is now really going to highlight a wrestler that is stalling, and that we're going to get officials to call stalling in a lot more aggressive manner?
Yes, 100%. I think it's going to make it where they want to see action more so. And so, because, stalling is a natural part of the sport. It's fine. We get it. We know, but we try to limit it as much as possible because that's not the reason we wrestle. We're never going to get rid of it. So, all we can do is find different ways to negate it. And a 3-point takedown is definitely a way to alleviate some of the, I guess, anger that gets faced at the officials when they continue to call stalling on someone. Well, those stall calls aren't going to be as big of a game changer for people, but at the same time, they're going to call it a lot more frequently and be able to do that without as much, I guess, worry of blowback.
It's so funny. The wrestling community, and I find myself doing it too. I'm all about calling the stall on our opponent. That's stalling. I know it's like soccer with offsides, right? I don't exactly know what offsides is, but I know it when I see it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I don't stalling. I know stalling when I see it. And that our opponent is stalling. Now, if you call it on us, like
gonna lose my mind. Yeah, gonna lose my mind.
the subjective nature, right?
Yep.
We all think anyway. You go down a whole rabbit hole on stalling, but
100%. So
yeah,
3 point takedown, I think it's gonna be amazing. In the sense that not as daunting for people. And then it's also going to highlight that much more your skill on your feet because you're rewarding skill on the feet because that has strong abilities in folk style, freestyle, and Greco. I mean, that is the main focus. That has always been the main focus of your normal styles of wrestling outside of folk style, like on an international level. And so to now more heavily reward that in folk style, I think it's almost kind of creating a shift towards, what if one day we go to freestyle for collegiate wrestling instead? It might be paving that direction because that is what would make the most sense long term.
Oh wow, those are fighting words you just said there.
I know.
That there's the good F folk style and the bad F freestyle. Those are some fighting words you just threw out there.
Yeah, I know. And I'm someone that was a lot better at folk style than I was at freestyle, but it makes more sense to have train freestyle for a lot longer because that's what we are going to compete at a higher level if we ever want to. So, there at least needs to be a stronger focus on getting better at those skills, which once again, this will do because you're rewarding 3 points for a takedown. I'm going to work on my takedowns a little bit more.
Yeah. And have that urgency for takedowns, right? Like,
yeah.
So for people who don't know, women's collegiate wrestling is actually freestyle. So the NAIA is the only collegiate association that has fully sanctioned women's wrestling. And it's freestyle. Divisions 1, 2, and 3, the NCAA has approved women's wrestling as an emerging sport. And in that process, it will remain freestyle. So our WSU women actually wrestle kind of this combination of freestyle during the regular season, and then sometimes we double up and do a folk style. We do some folk style matches as well. The NCWA has not adopted freestyle at the national tournament, and so we still got one area that that hasn't made the change, and I don't know that will change unless the female athletes start voicing a little more strongly, like this is what bring us in line with our female peers. So we'll see what we'll see what happens in the next couple of years with that. But since WSU Wrestling is such a big program, it could be us that leads the way of that conversation. We'll have to see.
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, golf tournament. Are you going? What?
Yeah, I'll be popping in for the golf tournament. Can't be around the whole time just because that is the week that we are expecting my first child. So
that's right. Everyone, Hunter, for those of you who don't know, Hunter is going to be having his first child. So those of us who've been through it, we're so excited for you. For Hunter to be a dad.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be such a great experience. Little girl Stevie Ray. Hopefully, she becomes a wrestler like her dad. But there's a possibility that she'll go a different route and maybe play softball or something like her mom. So we'll see.
That's okay. My daughter did gymnastics. She made it crystal clear she would not be wrestling like mom and dad. She found her own sport, and she was a gymnast, and it's another crazy sport. So at least we stayed in the crazy sport area. And
yeah, exactly. Didn't go into something sane entirely. You don't want that.
You know what though? Everything that my husband and I, wrestling is so hard. I think it taught us a lot about. We knew what we needed, coming through as a elementary school, middle school, high school athlete. We knew what it meant to have really healthy support from parents. And so I think we're able to be healthy support parents and, keep putting her in the driver's seat as much as possible. It's what I try to do with all athletes. How can we keep putting you in the driver's seat, right? We're here to help and guide you, but this is your process. This is your journey. This is your athletic pursuit.
Yep.
So going back to the golf tournament, you're going to pop in. Are you going to swing a club even just a little bit? Like, do you golf? What's the whole
I
wrestler golfing thing is kind of, I don't
I
know.
have golfed. I wouldn't say I'm the most skilled at it. I did take a golf class at college at WSU, and I got a little bit better.
Yeah.
But it's something that I don't have the free time to enjoy yet. Maybe one day when I'm 65, got a really insane tan and some good tan lines, and living in a different state where it's sunny all the time. But that is still a ways away. So for the time
Yeah.
being, I'm okay with being all right at golfing, and I might swing a club once or twice. We'll see.
Hey, just a subject that came up with Kobe
Yeah,
was managing weight.
yeah,
And the wrestling community as a whole is really trying to move in the direction of being at a natural weight class, being really fit, eating healthy, food for performance. We're getting away from the starvation diets and the no, um, you know, not drinking for 3 days. Kobe
yeah.
said that you really helped him with a nutritional plan and maybe even just like a whole new mindset on the relationship that wrestlers need to have with food and how food is
Hmm.
for performance and how important it is to actually eat to do well in wrestling. He really said that was so huge for him. I know there's some other wrestlers that want to reach out to you about that.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you that even though you can't be in a room every day, you can still have an impact, on these men and women and be helpful?
It means the world to me, honestly. You know, Kobe is someone that really bought into what I had to give. He had a goal to be at a certain weight class, and he was pretty close to it, and just didn't know the right way to do it. And I, with my background, have done weight cutting the right way, and I've done it the wrong way. I
We all have. We all have.
Yep. Yeah. And it just turns out that when I did it the wrong way, I ended up having kidney failure. And that was completely on me. I made that decision. Um, and I learned a lot from it. And so I never want anyone to make those same mistakes I did. And so I turned back to what I did, learning it the right way. And I had designed kind of my own plan on how I was going to do it. You got to look at your food in multiple different ways. You got to look at it for its nutritional value and the actual weight of the food. You got to look at two different things at the same time. So I kind of walked him through that, and that blew his mind to start. And then I talked about how important it is to eat the certain things for their different energy levels. You need quick energy. You could literally drink honey and you would get instant energy. Eat your fruits, that'll give you quick energy. Then you need more
Yeah.
you know medium tier energy that'll last a little bit longer. That's where you get into stuff like a peanut butter, nuts,
Right.
grains, things like that. And then your long-term energy, your proteins, and always having a balanced meal. And whenever you need quick energy after a match or something, I mean, eating a fruit, maybe even sometimes having one bite of like I even had to do it sometimes when I didn't have anything around me, like a Snickers. Boom, took one bite of a
Yeah.
Snickers, quick energy. Um, Teaching him all those different things really put it into perspective, and then tell him that his body's a temple, and if you stray away from this plan even for a second,
Yeah.
you're gonna feel the effects. And he did at conference. He
Hmm.
steered away from it. He felt he didn't get a good night's sleep. He felt like he needed
Yeah.
energy, and he decided to drink a bang. And he ended up just wrestling flat the entire day. Did terribly. And he was a different wrestler than I had seen. I said, "What the heck
Yeah.
happened?" And he told me, he goes, "Gosh, I was just tired." He goes, "I drank a bang," and I went, "Oh my god, you idiot!" And I told him, I said, "You never do that." I said, "If you needed energy that bad, you eat fruit. You eat some fruit. Gosh dang it." And he goes, "I didn't think it would, have that effect." I said, "Oh, it has that effect." And so that was a good learning point
Yeah.
for him. And then as well as, I taught him that overhydrating is a better way to lose weight than dehydrating yourself.
Right.
So I
Right.
walked him through the whole watering process as well. And so being able to do that from all the way across the state was huge. And he would call me the day before weigh-in when he had, just made weight and he was exhausted and in his own head, like, I can't do this, I can't do this and stuff. I told him he could always reach out to me because I had those same
Yeah.
moments. And he would call me and we'd talk for a half hour about the pain he's going through and how tomorrow, the second that he weighs in, he's going to look back and go, oh, that was nothing. I could do it again. I
Yeah.
could have cut
Yeah.
more. You always have that effect. And I said, trust me, we've all been there. And, just laying it out for him, what he's going to be doing for the next 12 hours before he weighs
Right.
in, stuff like that. And I mean, it really showed in how he competed and, um, you know, everything. He had a great workout program that I also set out for him.
Mhm.
Um, where I told him, he was going to earn his food. And he said, you're going to eat as much as you normally would, but
Right.
you're also going to um, burn calories a decent amount more. So you're actually going to have to overcompensate and stuff. So you're
Yeah.
actually eating a little more than you normally would,
He
but
talked about that.
you're
He
losing it.
talked about how much he was eating. He felt full. It was so much better. I think I think the food and nutrition for all athletes across all sports, it's just it's kind of that one thing. It's so hard to commit to it. There's a lot of what do I do's. Um,
Yeah. And you need guidance.
and you
You
need
truly
guidance, and
do.
they're still young. They just come back out of high school where they're hitting Dutch Bros every day and a bag of Doritos, and and
Yep.
there's a lot involved. There's a certain amount of maturity and just desire, like, I got to start doing this right. And it doesn't happen in high school. I find with all of us, it
No, not
usually
at all.
happens much later. But
Yeah.
he's like, it made such a huge difference. I couldn't believe how much I was eating. I was drinking water. And he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is, and I always say, it's really important. We want these when everybody is done competing, we want them to have a healthy relationship with food,
Hmm.
and we want them to have a healthy relationship with wrestling. We lose a lot of wrestlers. They don't come back into the community. They had such a bad experience with wrestling, and a lot of it had to do with weight management or weight cutting. I listened to a podcast. This wrestler out of California, he wrestled for one of the California problems or programs. He just talked about he was always in feast or famine. He's like, I was in feast or I was in famine, and he's in his
Yeah.
20s now, and he's like, it's still something that he has to deal with. And so being able, you being able to help Kobe and any of the wrestlers with this, we want them to make weight, we want them to make it healthy, and at the end of the day, it's it's just a sport. We want you to have, we don't want you to be
it's
messed
a
up.
it's a sport we all care about so much and we want to sacrifice for. It's just you got to limit where you're sacrificing.
Yeah.
Sacrifice your time, okay? Don't sacrifice your body. Um,
Right.
and a big thing is, for one, Phil, he taught me a lot about my nutrition. Back when I was in high school, I was able to employ that in my junior senior year, which gave me an edge above most other wrestlers. And
Mhm.
then I also my parents bought me this book, and this book, despite what the title is, I would recommend it to any college wrestler that needs motivation and to learn how to cut weight better, all that stuff.
Okay.
It is Winning State Wrestling, and it
Oh,
took me a
I
while
think
to.
I've seen this.
Yes, it's just called Winning State Wrestling,
Okay.
and I read that front to back 30 times. I mean, and I still learn stuff every time I read it. It's not that long of a read. There's pictures, there's this, there's that. Like, it talks
Yeah.
about everything from start to finish. Talks about even like pre-match routines and getting in the same one and making sure that you do it every time.
Yes.
Talks about, not going to the bathroom before a match because that's you pissing out your adrenaline.
Yeah.
Because your body's nervous and going, okay,
Right.
whoo,
Right.
as crude as it sounds, it's the truth. And so I
Yeah.
learned all these different little things just from that book. And I got to tell you, that became, for me at least, that was kind of my trainer instead of having a coach all the time
Right.
telling me, okay, do this, do that, do that. I had this book, and if I ever had doubts, I'd read the book.
Yeah.
So I'd recommend that book to anyone if you can find it.
Winning
Look it up
state
on
wrestling.
Amazon.
Okay.
Look it up on Amazon. Order it. I mean, I even still have my copy that I might have to donate to the team, so that way some of the guys can read it, because it truly helps and it really works.
It does. With David, I've recommended some books that I think he might be interested in. As coaches, we also have limits or areas where we're not very strong. Kids, athletes, they have to start taking some initiative and become students of the sport. That is definitely a lesson that I learned when I was at Boise State on one of the conversations with the coaches is just coming in and practicing isn't always going to be enough. You have to make the effort to become a student of the sport. You have to go out
Yep.
and seek learning. And I think where the coach helps is taking what you're learning and how are we helping you manage it. There's so much information, right? So many things. Where the coach can help is just like, okay, you
Yeah.
learned that, great. How does that fit into what we're doing? You were the third. So we have Inside the Den, which is where we feature athletes. We have Coffee with a Coach, which is where we're featuring coaches. We're going to do some
Yep.
other fun things. We have done Kyler Burnett was our first Coffee with a Coach. It was a marathon because Kyler, I mean, we can all talk forever, and
Yeah. Oh, we can. I mean, we talked a lot before we even started this. So, that's just how it goes.
yeah. And then I had Coach Susan Burnett, and I will refer to her as Coach.
Yep. She is 100% a
She's
coach.
100% a coach. We've got a couple other people that we're gonna be hitting up, but thank you so much for doing this episode. This has been super fun. We'll have to do more. I think we need to do
Of
a group
course.
coach. We get all the coaches on for an episode. Best of luck to you with the baby. We're all
Thank you
super
so much.
excited. Your daughter is going to be she's born right into an instant family of WSU Wrestling. I can't wait to meet her, and I hope you bring her to all the matches because you'll never have to hold her. We will all just
Oh yeah, no, she'll be part of the family. Don't worry, she will be there. She'll be decked out in WSU Wrestling's gear.
Oh
That's
yeah,
for sure.
awesome. All right, thanks, Hunter.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.